on, man. What are we doing? Pretending like we care about hockey fights against Canada and NBA G Leaguers winning the dunk contest. It is a horrible day, and it is okay to admit that, okay? It is the first Sunday without football, and we don't have meaningful football again for 200 days, and it is okay to wallow in that and mourn it. I feel like that puppy dog on the ocean, like just hoping Bo Nix rides by on a surfboard and asks me to hop on the back, but he won't. And it's miserable. And on top of that, they are putting disrespect on Bo Nix's name, and I won't stand for it. In this video, we're breaking down just more shade being thrown at Bo Nix and his Broncos squad, potential tight end upgrades, even outside of the NFL draft that could be very much on this team next year. Woody Page's prediction for the NFL draft, that and so much more. If you like the Broncos, helps me and the algorithm out a ton if you would like and subscribe. So diving in here, we're in this lull, and folks are starting to try to create content. And one of the things that's very popular is doing redrafts of last year's draft, saying like, hey, if we saw how all this played out, where would everybody go? Now, we have heard like NFL names who I actually respect say that Bo Nix had one of the best years ever for an NFL quarterback. And if it were not for Jayden Daniels' like superstar year, that we'd be doing backflips over Bo Nix. So there's no possible world where Bo Nix is not the second quarterback in a redraft. And looking at this, you're seeing that they're saying like, oh, the Commanders would want Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams like had a horrible year, and all we heard all year was like how great the situation was he was coming into. He had Cole Kmet, he had multiple amazing wide receivers, he had great running backs. Like he was honestly like cherry picked into a perfect system, and he floundered and played very, very bad competition and still had nowhere near the year that Bo Nix did. Again, Drake May, congrats, man. You had a pretty decent year for a rookie, but he had nowhere near the ceiling that Bo Nix had. And so looking through here, you are seeing that they have in their redraft on CBS that Bo Nix would go 6th. So I'm liking the fact that like he went over Michael Penix and he went over, Brock Bowers, and he went over JJ McCarthy. But I still feel like that is a disrespectful thing to say that he would be on the board until 6. I think if any of the NFL franchises who have a quarterback who's aging or don't have a quarterback, they would be jumping over themselves to get Bo Nix at 2. And I think we're going to see more and more of that as folks watch Bo Nix and watch what this team is going to do once he has the type of talent around him that somebody like Caleb Williams did. So then it gets even worse than that. So like not only is he fallen to number 6 when I think he had one of the best years of a rookie, way far exceeded even our lofty expectations. So then the 33rd team, which is usually a pretty solid, it's kind of making a run for PFF, the Pro Football Focus. They came out and had this tweet that was supposed to kind of be like a mic drop, and they're like, every rookie quarterback with 4,000 passing yards and 30 total touchdowns and 10 wins in NFL history. Jayden Daniels, end of list. Mic drop. Well, guess what, you jokers? You forgot something, okay? And that is that Bo Nix actually had a better year than Jayden Daniels with less talent, played a much harder schedule. One of his, touchdowns was not a garbage Hail Mary against the Chicago Bears. And I think if you look and actually were to watch the entire season, those guys were neck and neck and much closer than people think. And I love that they were community noted on here, and they're going to be forced to go and change that. But this is just definitely par for the course here, showing that really the NFL media in general uses artificial intelligence to write their stories. They don't actually pay any attention to the Denver Broncos. But next year, when this team continues its ascent, you won't be able to ignore them. So go ahead and ignore them one more season, and we will show you how that works out for you next year. One of the reasons I'm confident that we're going to show you how that works out next year is that the Broncos are pretty much always crushed the draft as of late. And this graph came out here, an actual, this does not have to be community noted or fact checked because it's all correct here. But what this graphic shows is the percentage of first and second round draft picks that you have who are still on your team. Obviously, it's going to be crucial for the Broncos if they want to continue making the playoffs and making deep runs in the playoffs to make sure that they are hitting on their first and second rounders. And it's cool to me to see the Broncos in the top 10 on this list. That's just a great sign that you know what you're doing here. And then just like looking here, like Raiders, have you been a laughing stock in the league for a while? You have not hit on a ton of your draft picks. And so the fact that like less than 40% of guys that they are drafting in the first and second round are even still on their team now, that is a horrible sign moving forward. I think you're going to see this hit rate for the Broncos just continue as the years go, seeing Garrett Bowles still be on this team at this point. I think that's a fantastic thing, but I really am excited about this draft because the Broncos have been hitting on it, and I think George Payton is a tremendous drafter, not just in those early rounds, but as the rounds progress. So we have heard a ton of rumors and back and forth about like, hey, well, who are the Broncos going to be drafting in this year's draft, knowing that they usually hit on players that they do draft. And Woody Page has kind of come out and said that he thinks that when Sean Payton said that they were going to be looking at inside linebacker and safety, that Sean Payton was kind of trying to, do a little sleight of hand and make people be like, oh, the Broncos are looking at inside linebacker. Woody Page thinks that what the Broncos actually are going to be drafting for in these first two rounds is going to be running back and tight end. I actually kind of agree with Woody Page on there that it is Sean Payton is very trustable when he makes definitive statements like, hey, we're going to make the playoffs. Next time I only win 7 games is going to be the first time. But when it comes to this point in the year, this is when Sean Payton starts playing checkers while everybody is playing chess. We saw that all last year as he was trying to get everyone in the league to think we were in love with J.J. McCarthy so that Bo Nix would fall to us. So when Sean Payton says we're going to be looking at safety and linebacker, that is probably a smokescreen because in all reality, we're going to be looking at tight end and running back. So that's kind of what I'm predicting. Other interesting piece of news that came out on this slow news Sunday was we've heard a ton of talk about the fact that it could be very possible that the Broncos might be making a move at Deebo Samuel. We made a video on that last week. And kind of interesting here that basically Chris Harris Jr. came out in defense of Marvin Mims and basically said, hey, we already have a 2-time Pro Bowler and an All-Pro and a guy who was on Belichick's All-Pro team, like one of the best players on this team, and a player who Sean Payton at the end of the season said, hey, he is an elite playmaker. Why would we give any money up to go and get Deebo Samuel when you have Marvin Mims already on this team? And it's cool to see a former player in Chris Harris Jr. of the no-fly zone say that, and the person who is stamping his mark on it, like agreeing to it, is Marvin Mims' own father saying, yeah, 100%, I agree with you. Like, that is a good take. And so does Marvin Mims have an inside track? Like, hey, you're our dude moving forward this year. And then obviously he would talk to his dad and be like, Dad, I'm the new Joker. We're not getting Deebo. It's going to be me. Or is this just a dad defending his son on Twitter? But when I see it put like this and just see a former player come to the defense of Marvin Mims and say Marvin Mims could be even better than Deebo Samuel, and he's already on this roster, and we already have him in a cost-controlled way, I kind of agree with that and would love to not bring the drama of Deebo Samuel in, but ultimately trust Sean Payton's judgment way more on that than I trust my own. Last piece of news on this slow news day is just this talk, as we have now seen Darren Rizzi join Sean Payton. He's our assistant head coach and the special teams coordinator, just a brilliant football mind. And so there's a lot of talk of now there's a totally new administration running the New Orleans Saints, and one of their more high-priced targets or high-priced players is Taysom Hill, who was a former quarterback and now a tight end, and the definition of a joker in that New Orleans offense. They're going to be doing a completely new offensive system, and Taysom Hill cost them like $10 million. And so everyone is saying that Taysom Hill will be cut, and that then the Denver Broncos could make a run at Taysom Hill, pay him on a vet minimum to kind of come in here. So very curious what all you would think of having Taysom Hill. Like, he can truly do everything, like seeing him here, like he's a kick returner, huge dude to be a kick returner, but you see like explosiveness and like he can bowl over people. He can beat you with his speed. Like, he shouldn't be able to move that fast when he is that big of a dude. You also see him also being, while he's not a pure tight end, he can play tight end. And so here's him going up and getting like a gorgeous little ball right there. And really, I think what you see him in the most is definitely kind of running some of these like trick end arounds and things like that. And then seeing him quite a bit in like the read option, which very curious what all you would think about having, is that like, here's the play right here where he goes 75 yards, like reads it. To me, I think Taysom Hill makes a lot more sense when your other option is Drew Brees, who's not that mobile. To me, if like Sean Payton wants a running quarterback, Bo Nix was way faster than any of us ever predicted. So like let Bo Nix run. But if you could have Taysom Hill on a vet minimum, do it. But if you have to pay him more than that, let's not. But very curious what all y'all think on that. Last thing, got to get through here and make sure that I say I need all y'all to go and subscribe to my main man, Mike Carminelli's YouTube channel. It's called Mic'd Up Broncos. I will link to it in the description. Each week, he has a couple of different members from radio, podcasts, all over the place. Come on, and he does an NFL trivia show, and I had the pleasure of going against one of my favorite Broncos creators of all time, Sarah Bettinger. He's on Predominantly Orange. He's on Locked On Broncos. And we had a trivia contest. I'm not going to spoil who wins. You got to watch the whole episode, but go watch it after this. And just know it was kind of like my flu game, okay? I was right back from Florida. I was tired. I still gave my best effort. I'm not going to tell you who wins. I didn't win. I should have won. It was rigged, okay? Broncos country, we got a ton to believe in.